There's a kind of desire that goes far beyond the body, a craving that starts in the chest, tightens the breath, and quietly changes the way a man sees a woman. It's not born in lust. It doesn't begin in the eyes. It begins in the mind. And even deeper, in the emotional field between two people. This video isn't about tricks, it's not about seduction tactics or performative femininity. What you'll hear today is a lived wisdom, an emotional intelligence that awakens something raw and real in a man who's ready for more than just surface-level chemistry. A man who wants to feel seen, respected, challenged, and inspired. We're speaking here to men who are emotionally available, men who've done the work, who have depth and who crave a kind of woman that moves differently. Not loud, not desperate, but present. A woman who sees their strength and doesn't compete with it. She reflects it. She honors it. What sparks this kind of connection isn't obvious, and it's certainly not about being nice or agreeable. Carl Jung, in his book, The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, speaks of the anima, the feminine presence that lives within the unconscious mind of every man. The woman who embodies emotional nuance, mystery, and authenticity touches this part of him, and when she does, she becomes unforgettable. Jung also reminds us in Man and His Symbols that the symbols and energies that truly move us are often unconscious. When you learn how to speak to these parts of a man, not with performance, but with presence, you bypass resistance. You invite his truth to come closer, voluntarily. Throughout this video, you'll learn how to activate that deeper emotional wiring using 4 powerful emotional nicknames. Not literal pet names, but ways of speaking to the masculine. Identity in a way that arouses pride, evokes respect, and invites desire. These aren't phrases you just throw out. They're expressions you inhabit, backed by presence, truth, and intention. The man we're speaking to isn't impressed by surface beauty alone. He's magnetized by a woman who holds herself like she knows her worth, and who sees his in a way the world rarely does. This connection is rare because it's earned. It requires a kind of woman who doesn't beg to be chosen, because she's already chosen herself. What makes a man desire a woman deeply over time and with emotional hunger that doesn't fade with familiarity? It's not her beauty. It's not how much she gives. It's how she moves his inner world. And to understand that, we need to go beyond gender roles or love languages. We need to look at the architecture of masculine psychology itself. Carl Jung wrote in Psychological Types that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. For a man to truly desire a woman, she must become more than a figure in his life. She must become a mirror of his own inner potential. She triggers the heroic, the wild, the noble, the restrained. She activates the archetypes that live within him. This is not manipulation, it's recognition. When a man is emotionally mature, he's not hunting validation from the outside. He's looking for reflection, someone who doesn't just admire who he is now, but who evokes who he wants to become. That's where your power begins. Not in asking, how do I get him to want me? But in standing in your essence so fully that he feels himself rise in your presence. In Jungian psychology, the anima, the internal feminine image every man carries, is developed through the women in his life. But only a rare kind of woman awakens the deeper levels of this anima, the levels that create desire with meaning, not the passing thrill, but longing tied to admiration, awe, and emotional expansion. You do this not by trying to be anything, but by knowing what energy you are transmitting and doing it with clarity. It's not always about what you say. Often it's about how you say it and why. The right word delivered with inner silence can create a longing that no seduction ever could. Let's be clear, men who are emotionally available are incredibly sensitive to emotional authenticity. They're repelled by manipulation but drawn to intention. If your words are laced with insecurity, even the most poetic line will fall flat. But if your presence is calm, sure, and gently provocative, you don't even need many words. Just a tone, a pause, a moment of undivided attention. These men want to feel themselves through you. Your role is not to impress, It's to reveal. To reflect his strength, yes, but also to invite his softness, his mystery, his internal tension. That is what makes you unforgettable. Now imagine this. You're sitting with him. A quiet night. You say very little, but your eyes are locked. You tilt your head slightly and say, "I feel so safe around you." And it's not just physical. It's like your presence wraps around me. You mean it. And in that moment, a switch flips in his brain. You didn't ask for anything. You reflected something real. That's what this entire video is about, helping you master the art of emotional suggestion, the way you walk, the way you take a breath before speaking, the gentle slowing of your voice when he opens up. These are not tricks. They are energetic invitations. Each one tells his deeper mind, with her, I can be more of myself. The modern world trains us to shout louder, do more, be more, but the feminine magnetism we're speaking of lives in less, in elegance, in subtlety, in awareness. It's not passive, it's deeply active, but inwardly. It takes strength to hold silence, grace to reflect truth, and power to speak without chasing. A woman who knows this no longer competes, she attracts. There's something ancient in a man that lights up when he feels useful, not just practically, but emotionally. The protector instinct isn't a cliché. It's an energetic truth embedded deep in masculine psychology. Not every man owns it, but when a woman recognizes this side of him, not with neediness but with reverence, something inside him wakes up. This isn't about acting helpless. It's not about turning your power down. It's about turning his mission on. When you activate this instinct from a place of self-respect, you're not weakening yourself, you're honoring his gift. And that offering, when done consciously, is magnetic. In the Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, Carl Jung describes how the masculine psyche is wired toward purpose, challenge, and the instinct to guard. When a man feels like he can protect physically, emotionally, or spiritually, he connects to a core part of his identity. He doesn't just feel wanted, he feels essential. This is crucial. Essentiality is a masculine hunger that most men don't even know they're starving for, until a woman mirrors it back to them. Let's imagine a moment you're walking together. It's evening and the streets are unfamiliar. You gently say, "I always feel calm when I'm with you, like I don't have to think about anything because I know you've got me." You glance at him softly and then simply keep walking. In that single moment, you've done three powerful things. You've made him feel trusted. You've reflected his leadership. You've invited his masculine energy to act without demanding. These micro moments are what deepen the emotional bond. They don't come from performance. They come from presence. They are not calculated. They're intentional. And that difference is everything. Mature men don't crave chaos. They don't chase drama. And they certainly don't want to feel manipulated into taking care of someone. But when a woman intelligently and sincerely reflects his protector nature, he steps in naturally, not out of obligation but out of instinct. He doesn't feel pressured, he feels purposeful. Here's another example. You're telling him about a stressful day, and in the middle of your story, you pause and say, "I didn't even realize how much I needed to hear your voice until now." It's like everything just settles. You didn't ask him to fix anything, you didn't dump your stress, you showed him his impact. And in that moment, he feels like his presence matters, not just as a man, but as your man. Here are more examples of emotionally intelligent language. There's something about your energy that makes everything feel less heavy. "I don't know how you stay so calm under pressure, but it makes me feel safe. The way you looked at that guy when he was being rude, you didn't say a word, but I felt protected." These phrases are powerful, not because they flatter, but because they name the unseen. They validate the behaviors that many men have never had acknowledged. And in doing so, they awaken a desire to keep showing up, to keep being that safe, grounding force in your life. Now let's talk about mistakes, because intention matters here more than technique. The biggest mistake women make is collapsing into neediness to trigger his protector side. They dramatize, exaggerate, or create emotional messes to see if he'll clean them up. But that kind of test is rooted in fear, not truth. It erodes trust instead of building it. Another mistake: overpraising. When admiration turns into idolization, a man feels performance pressure, not pride. Instead of feeling seen, he feels like he's on stage, and that pressure eventually repels him. To truly awaken the protector natural, you must come from wholeness. You are safe on your own, but when you're with him, you allow yourself to feel that safety. You relax a little deeper, you soften your voice, you let your breath slow. These micro-signals tell him, "My presence is received," and that's when he becomes addicted to giving it. Signs that it's working are often nonverbal. He becomes more physically attuned to you, walking slightly ahead, guiding your movements. He starts taking mental notes about what comforts you. He begins anticipating your needs before you express them. He initiates more plans, texts, conversations that create structure. This is not control, it's containment, and a woman who recognizes this dynamic and honors it without exploiting it becomes unforgettable. As Jung said in Modern Man in Search of a Soul, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. When a woman helps a man return to his nature, not by fixing him but by reflecting him, he finds himself more in her presence than anywhere else. One final scene to imagine. You're sitting at dinner. The restaurant is loud. He leans in to hear you better, and instead of raising your voice, you just smile, touch his wrist gently and whisper, "I like that you lean in when you want to hear me." His body stills. His attention sharpens. You've just made him aware of his own instinct and elevated it. That's the secret. Not commanding his energy, but catching it and naming it with truth, and doing so from a place of grounded self-worth. You don't need to act small to activate the protector. You need to be real, emotionally grounded, and open enough to let his strength land. When you do, you don't just stir desire, you stir loyalty, because once a man feels that his essence, not his performance, is what draws you in, won't want to be anywhere else. There's a rare kind of woman who doesn't just attract a man, she ignites something in him. She walks into a room and doesn't demand attention, but she commands it. Not with noise, not with effort, but with something even more powerful. Freedom that refuses to shrink. This is the essence of the indomable, the untamable. She's not wild in a chaotic way. She's wild in a pure way. Untouched by fear, too. Alive to be controlled. And when a man meets her, his first instinct is not to possess her. It's to rise to her. Carl Jung, in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, wrote that the most intense conflicts, if overcome, leave behind a sense of security and calm that is not easily disturbed. This is the paradox of the indomable woman. She brings tension, not the destructive kind, but the magnetic kind. She awakens the masculine edge. She doesn't challenge his dominance. She calls it out and invites it to meet hers. Let's ground this in a moment. Imagine he's telling you about a big decision he's struggling with. You listen deeply. Then you look at him, half smiling. Hand say, "You know, you've never really done things the safe way. That's what I love about your mind, that it doesn't ask for permission." That sentence, when said with presence, not performance, reaches his spine. You didn't flatter. You reflected his core. You saw his risk-taker, the part of him that refuses mediocrity. And in doing so, you positioned yourself not as his admirer, but as his equal flame. That's the energy of the indomable. She respects power because she holds her own. She doesn't want to be tamed, and she doesn't try to tame him. Instead, she creates a fire so sacred that only truth can survive in it. Men with depth are drawn to this, not because it's easy, but because it's real. These are men who don't want to fix or mold a woman. They want to witness her, to learn her rhythm, to feel inspired in her presence and trusted in their own. Now, some women misinterpret this energy. They think being indomable means being cold, hard, unavailable. But coldness isn't power. It's fear with armor. True wildness is warm. It's untamed, not unkind. It has edges, but those edges invite, not reject. Some examples of indomable language that awakens desire. You're not made for rules, are you? There's too much storm in you. You remind me of the ocean, calm on the surface, but with depths most people can't touch. You don't follow paths, you cut them. These aren't lines to memorize. They're mirrors to hold. When you say them, it's not the words. It's your certainty, your calm intensity, your ability to see the part of him that refuses to conform and to whisper, "I see it. I'm not scared of it, I love it." This makes him feel chosen, not for his polish, but for his edge. And when a man feels seen in his rawness, he brings that energy back to you, in desire, in protection, in devotion. What are the signs it's working? He becomes more bold around you, expressive, direct, physical. He starts sharing dreams and ideas he hasn't told others. He initiates intensity, deeper conversations, more honest sex, more eye contact. He starts testing your fire, not to break you, but to feel how real you are. But there's a danger here too, power struggles. If you try to match him with ego, it becomes competition. But if you bring essence, it becomes intimacy. You're not trying to overpower, you're offering contrast. His fire doesn't scare you because you know your own. That's why he relaxes into presence with you. Jung also reminds us in Psychological Types that when we repress aspects of our nature, they resurface through projection, often in relationships. Many men suppress their free spirit in order to be good men or providers. When they meet a woman who is untamed yet emotionally mature, she becomes a living permission slip, not to escape, but to become. And that's what the indomable woman offers, permission without chaos. She doesn't say, "Burn it all down." She says, "I see your fire, let it breathe." This woman is seductive not because she tries to be, but because she's not afraid to be intense. She uses silence like thunder. She makes decisions from instinct. She dances between softness and command. And when she looks a man in the eyes, really looks, he feels like she already knows him, even if he hasn't said a word. Now here's the emotional intelligence behind it. This isn't a woman who's still proving her worth. She knows. She doesn't push for connection. She invites it. She doesn't play games. She plays real. And that clarity removes confusion, which builds trust, which opens desire. Imagine a moment you're standing close to him. You gently brush past his shoulder and say, "You have this energy that makes people want to follow you." But you don't chase anyone. Then you keep walking. You don't look back. And in that moment he feels it. Not just the words, but the presence, the wildness, the invitation to deepen. That is the art of being indomable. You don't seduce with availability. You seduce with truth. You don't open your soul on the first date. You let him earn access. And when he does, he doesn't just want you, he respects you. This kind of woman isn't for every man. She's for the man who wants to live awake. And if you are that woman, if you know your fire and you hold it with grace, well, then trust this. The right man won't want to tame you. He'll want to burn beside you. Some men don't chase the room. They don't raise their voice, they don't posture or perform, yet when they walk in, the energy shifts. It's not just their presence, it's their containment, their calm, their inner stillness that doesn't ask for attention but commands. This is the hombre de acero y calma, the man of steel and silence. And when a woman knows how to see this man, something very rare happens. He melts without losing structure. He opens without losing edge. Carl Jung, in Ion Researches into the Phenomenology of the Self, describes how the integration of opposites, strength and stillness, power and gentleness, is what leads to true individuation. The emotionally grounded man is not void of emotion. He is the container of it. And when a woman reflects that truth to him, he feels both respected and safe, a feeling most men don't admit they crave. Let's imagine a moment. You've just shared something vulnerable. You expected a reaction, but he just holds your gaze, breath steady, face calm. Then, without rushing to fix or explain, he simply says, "I hear you." And he means it. Not with sympathy, but presence. Now, pause. That silence, that stillness, that's not emptiness, that's power. And when you feel it, you feel held. Men like this are not the loudest in the room, but they're the most memorable. Because in their stillness, they hold gravity. And when you speak to that part of them, not as a girl seeking comfort, but as a woman recognizing emotional mastery, something shifts in him. He feels trusted with your chaos. Here's a powerful example of language that honors the hombre de acero. "Dai calma. When everything feels loud, your silence reminds me that I'm not alone. The way you stay calm when things get heavy, that's the kind of strength no one teaches. You don't just react, you respond. That's rare. These aren't compliments, they're reflections. And men like this don't hear them. Often, not because they aren't seen, but because people are too distracted to notice. What happens when you notice him? He deepens. He comes closer, not fast, not dramatically, but with intentionality. He starts offering containment, not because you demanded it, but because you've shown him that his calm is welcome, not overlooked. Now, this man does not fall for chaos. He doesn't chase intensity. He protects his peace. So the moment you try to spark his attention through emotional disarray, he will retreat, not from fear, but from discernment. The key to connecting with the hombre de acero y calma is this: match his tempo. You don't need to speak fast, prove your energy, or fill the space. You slow down, you breathe, you sit in silence. And when you finally speak, your voice lands, not because it's loud, but because it's clear. Jung explains in The Undiscovered Self that the mass crushes out the insight and reflection that are still possible with the individual, and without them there can be no freedom. What this means in relationship is simple. When a woman mirrors his individuality, honors it, she becomes a space of liberation, not noise. Imagine another moment. You're on the couch. There's nothing pressing. He's quiet. You touch his knee gently and whisper, "I love that you don't rush to speak. It makes me feel like I can actually breathe when I'm around you." Then you just stay. In silence. No fixing. No follow-up. And that's the seduction. Your willingness to rest inside his calm, to not demand more, to not break the stillness, but to join it. That's how you move him. Not by shaking his world, but by stepping into it without fear. Here's how you know it's working. He invites you into quiet moments. He becomes more emotionally verbal, man, not with drama, but with clarity. He starts showing consistency in the way he supports you, practical, steady, non-performative. He begins revealing parts of his past, not as confession, but as a way to say, "I trust you with my roots." But this man has a test, not of you, but of time. He doesn't give access easily. You can't force this door open. You sit at it, you wait, you breathe, and you let him feel your consistency. That's what unlocks him. One of the biggest mistakes women make. Here is misreading calm for indifference. They start asking, why doesn't he react? Why doesn't he pursue faster? And they poke, they test, they create movement. And in doing so, they lose the stillness that first attracted him. He doesn't need you to dance louder. He needs you to trust the pause. Because to this man, emotional calm isn't passivity. It's depth, it's structure, it's steel. And when he finds a woman who doesn't just admire that, but mirrors it, she becomes his place of rest, his reward, his inner home. As Jung said in Psychological Aspects of the Persona, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. You don't need to impress him to create transformation. You just need to bring clarity into the silence final moment. He's sitting across from you. He's been quiet for minutes. You don't interrupt. You just say with softness and certainty, "You don't have to perform for me. I already feel you." And then you let that land. Let it breathe. No more words. That's when he begins to open, not with noise, but with reverence. Because now he sees you not just as a woman, but as a mirror of his center. Final moment. He's sitting across from you. He's been quiet for minutes. You don't interrupt. You just say, with softness and certainty, "You don't have to perform for me. I already feel you." And then you let that land, let it breathe, no more words. That's when he begins to open, not with noise, but with reverence. Because now he sees you not just as a woman, but as a mirror of his center. He recognizes your presence as peace, not as passivity, but as emotional intelligence, a kind of woman who doesn't fear the silence because she knows what lives inside it, a kind of woman who doesn't need answers to feel connection, only presence, only truth. And when a man like this meets a woman like that, the game changes. The bond deepens, the noise fades, and what remains is something most never find. Connection built not in fire, but in stillness that holds. Some women are remembered not for what they said, but for what they didn't say, for the look that lingered half a second too long, for the pause before the answer, for the feeling that there was always more to know about her, and that maybe, just maybe, she wouldn't let you find it all. This is the energy of mysterio en persona. Mystery made flesh. It's not aloofness. It's not playing hard to get. It's a refined art, the ability to be fully present without being fully revealed. And to a mature man, this is magnetic. Carl Jung wrote in Symbols of Transformation that mystery is a psychic fact. It cannot be grasped intellectually. And that's the key. Mystery doesn't come from being confusing. It comes from being layered. A woman who holds her story with grace, who doesn't unfold too fast, activates a man's pursuit drive at the deepest level. Not out of ego, out of fascination. Let's ground it. You're on a date. He asks you about your past. You smile slowly, take a sip and say, "There are parts of me I only share with people who make me feel safe enough to be seen." And then you change the subject, softly, not defensively. You didn't dodge. You created depth. You hinted at something real. And in that moment, you gave him a map, without showing the territory. This kind of energy tells a man, there's something here worth discovering. And men, real men, mature men, live for that. Because the mystery isn't about withholding. It's about earning access. Some women try to fake mystery by being unavailable or vague. But emotional unavailability is not the same as depth. True mystery feels warm, not cold. It invites you closer, but on her terms. Here are examples of how mysterio en persona speaks. I've learned not everything should be explained right away. Some truths grow stronger in silence. You ask great questions. I'll tell. Yes, and eventually. I like that you want to know everything. Makes me wonder what you'll do when you find it. These lines don't confuse. They hook. They open a door. They let him feel your intelligence and your discretion. And in doing so, they create tension, the good kind. The kind that keeps him thinking of you long after you've left the room. Now, what makes this archetype irresistible is not just what she doesn't say, but what she knows. She knows that her story is sacred, that revealing herself is a choice, not a duty. That curiosity is not weakness, it's power when it's mutual. She holds this awareness in her tone, her timing, her body language. She can sit in silence and not feel insecure. She can delay intimacy without apologizing. She can make a man work for the next layer, and he doesn't feel rejected. He feels inspired. Jung once wrote in Psychology and Alchemy, "The longing for the unknown is a longing for the self." When a woman embodies mystery, she doesn't just tease, she awakens something existential. She reminds him of his own complexity, his need for depth, for exploration, for revelation. What happens when you do this? Well, he starts opening parts of himself to meet your mystery. He slows down, he asks better questions, he becomes more honest, and most of all, he returns, again and again, because he doesn't want to solve you. He wants to experience you. Now, important warning, mystery isn't manipulation. If your silence comes from fear, from shame or games, he will feel that. Mystery must be grounded in confidence, in an inner knowing that you don't have, to prove yourself quickly to be worthy of love. Imagine another moment. You're in the middle of a quiet conversation. He leans in, curious. You look him in the eye and say, "There's a lot I could tell you about me, but I like watching what people notice first." What have you seen? That question flips the dynamic. It's subtle, disarming, playful, and it invites him into a different kind of attention, not to take, but to observe. Now, he's not just hearing your words, he's studying your essence, the signs this is working. He becomes more deliberate in how he communicates with you. He starts sharing more personal truths, as if to earn yours. He initiates more conversations, trying to understand you without even realizing it. He begins to slow down, savoring your presence, instead of rushing to label it. But again, this power demands maturity. If a woman uses mystery to gain control, she creates insecurity. But if she uses it to protect her value, she creates fascination. There's a difference. One makes him chase, the other makes him choose. And when a man chooses to discover you, little by little, what he finds isn't just beauty, it's meaning. It's soul. It's a woman who trusts herself enough not to reveal everything for attention, but only enough to invite a deeper kind of connection. Final scene. He's looking at you, slightly lost in thought. You smile and say, "You haven't asked the question I was waiting for." He raises his brow. "What question?" You smile again, quieter this time. "That's the one." And in that moment, playful, poetic, precise, you've done it again. You've reminded him that mystery isn't confusion. It's a doorway, a spark, a rhythm only the right man will have the patience and presence to follow, because the woman who embodies mystery isn't hiding. She's choosing. Choosing. When, how, and with whom to unfold. And this choice radiates power, not secrecy. She doesn't need to be understood by everyone, only by the one who's earned access to her inner world. Imagine one last moment. You're watching a sunset together. The sky is on fire. He says, "You're hard to read sometimes." And you smile, eyes on the horizon. You respond gently, "That's because I'm still reading myself and I like discovering me slowly." He turns to you, quiet now, and he realizes you're not a puzzle to solve. You're a poem to experience, one line at a time. Not every woman can or wants to create this kind of connection, because this kind of connection doesn't come from tips, tricks, or scripts. It comes from a woman who has met herself, who has walked through her own shadows, sat with her own chaos, and emerged not desperate to be chosen, but unwilling to abandon her essence just to belong. The men we've spoken about, the protector, the untamed, the calm steel, the seeker of mystery, they are not drawn to surface performance. They are drawn to emotional gravity, to the kind of woman who doesn't perform her worth but who radiates it, quietly, steadily, unapologetically. Carl Jung said in The Relations Between the Ego and the Unconscious, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that's what magnetism is, not charm, not perfection, but truth embodied. Feminine energy in its purest form is not chaos. It's coherence. It's not manipulation. It's presence. Presence is what moves him. It's the way you breathe before speaking. The calm in your voice when others panic. The softness that doesn't mean weakness but choice. A woman in her feminine essence doesn't need to push. She pulls without effort because her energy is clean, clear, congruent. She doesn't chase love. She doesn't demand proof. She invites connection, but only from those who can meet her where she already lives, in depth, in intention, in wholeness. Here's the truth no one talks about. The most irresistible women are not the loudest. They are the ones who move with inner knowing. They're not waiting to be told they're enough. They've already decided it, and from that place every word becomes more magnetic. Every silence becomes more powerful. Every boundary becomes more beautiful, not because it pushes people away, but because it filters out what isn't aligned. So if you want to awaken real desire, not lust, but longing, stop reaching outside of yourself. Return to your breath, to your truth, to your rhythm. Let your energy do the talking. Let your presence speak before your words do. And when the right man feels it, he won't run. He'll slow down. He'll pay attention. And he'll feel something rare. A woman who doesn't need him to complete her, approve her, or rescue her, because she has already done that for herself. Not every woman can, and or wants to, create this kind of connection, because this kind of connection doesn't come from tips, tricks, or scripts. It comes from a woman who has met herself, who has walked through her own shadows, sat with her own chaos, and emerged not desperate to be chosen, but unwilling to abandon her essence just to belong. The men we've spoken about, the protector, the untamed, the calm steel, the seeker of mystery, they are not drawn to surface performance. They are drawn to emotional gravity, to the kind of woman who doesn't perform her worth, but who radiates it, quietly, steadily, unapologetically. Carl Jung said in The Relations Between the Ego and the Unconscious, The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that's what magnetism is, not charm, not perfection, but truth embodied. Feminine energy in its purest form is not chaos, it's coherence. It's not manipulation, it's presence. Presence is what moves him. It's the way you breathe before speaking, the calm in your voice when others panic, the softness that doesn't mean weakness but choice. A woman in her feminine essence doesn't need to push. She pulls without effort because her energy is clean, clear, congruent. She doesn't chase love. She doesn't demand proof. She invites connection, but only from those who can meet her where she already lives, in depth, in intention, in wholeness. Here's the truth no one talks about. The most irresistible women are not the loudest. They are the ones who move with inner knowing. They're not waiting to be told they're enough. They've already decided it, and from that place every word becomes more magnetic. Every silence becomes more powerful. Every boundary becomes more beautiful, not because it pushes people away, but because it filters out what isn't aligned. So if you want to awaken real desire, not lust, but longing, stop reaching. Outside of yourself, return to your breath, to your truth, to your rhythm. Let your energy do the talking. Let your presence speak before your words do, and when the right man feels it, he won't run, he'll slow down, he'll pay attention, and he'll feel something rare. A woman who doesn't need him to complete her, approve her, or rescue her, because she has already done that for herself. And that is the energy no man can forget. If you've made it this far, you already know. This isn't about learning a technique or memorizing lines. It's about remembering who you are when you're not performing, not proving, and not shrinking. The woman who understands how to activate desire in a man is not acting from a script. She's moving from a place of deep internal clarity. She's not trying to control his perception. She's rooted in her presence, and because of that, she shapes his perception without even trying. What we explored today, the archetypes of protector, fire, steel, and mystery, aren't personas to wear like costumes. They are energies that already live in you, waiting to be called forward with elegance, with emotional intelligence, and above all with respect for your own depth and self-regard. These men, the mature ones, the real ones, don't fall in love with a performance. They fall in love with a presence. They desire what feels grounded, emotionally congruent, and quietly powerful. And when they find a woman who holds herself without urgency, without the need to rush into connection or be validated by their reaction, their walls come down, not because she asked for it, but because they feel safe enough to offer it. So if there's one thing to remember from this video, let it be this. The most irresistible energy is not the one that seeks attention, but the one that holds intention. Desire doesn't ignite from volume. It ignites from resonance, when who you are aligns with what you express in word, in body, in energy. If this message moved something in you, even a little, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who might need to remember the power they carry. And if you want more conversations like this, rooted in depth and emotional mastery, don't forget to subscribe and let me know in the comments what resonated most with you. This is just the beginning, because the more you trust your feminine presence, the more the right man won't just desire you, he'll recognize you, he'll feel at home, and he'll never forget how it felt to be seen like that.